Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided.
This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy is sponsored by Thomson Reuters, providing legal professionals with the intelligence, technology, and human expertise they need to find trusted answers. Products include Westlaw, Practical Law, and Firm Central legal practice management software for small law firms. Thomson Reuters, the answer company. Online at thomsonreuters.com. Access to Democracy is made possible in part by a donation from Firefly Credit Union. Firefly is the new name of U.S. Federal Credit Union, which has proudly served the financial needs of the Greater Twin Cities community since 1925. At Firefly, we guide our members forward and give them the power to chase dreams by delivering the financial solutions they need to get ahead. From checking accounts to mortgages, we'll light the way. We are Firefly Credit Union, and this is Life Illuminated. And Dr. Charles Crutchfield of award-winning Crutchfield Dermatology in Eagan, acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. A Minnesota native who trained at the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Crutchfield personally treats all patients and states that experience counts and quality matters. Crutchfield Dermatology. Look good, feel great, with beautiful skin.
Welcome back to Access to Democracy. Alan Miller, your host, and a return guest in our tribute to law enforcement. And it was just one day short of a year ago that Sheriff Tim Leslie of Dakota County was a guest on our show, the 18th of March last year. So happy anniversary.
Well, thank you, Alan. Thanks for having me again.
And so much to talk about in terms of law enforcement and how it's really, really moving with the times and sometimes in conflict with the times.
That's right.
You have a Citizens Academy, of which my wife is a graduate.
Proud graduate,
And
correct.
proud
Yes,
graduate.
very proud.
You know, she has taken the Eagan Academy, which I'm now taking, the Advanced Academy, your Academy, and she's been doing Tai Chi for over 5 years. Wow. So don't mess with Sharon.
Don't mess with Sharon, all right. Well, we're going to get you into our Citizens Academy soon, I hope. Yeah.
We're looking, if you do a second one this year, I'll
love
be
to
there.
have you. Love to have you.
So how are things in the sheriff's office at the moment? You've got a lot of responsibilities.
I do.
On the road, in the towns, in the jail.
Very much so. Yeah, the sheriff has a lot of responsibilities in law. Like I was teaching the other night, and I mentioned that to the class, and I said, it's hard for legislators to identify all the police departments and police chiefs in each county, so they know that there's a sheriff in each county. So many times, there's the sheriff shall. So they put it in law that the sheriff shall, because they know there's one in every county. Because there's some counties with only a sheriff.
And we have 87 counties in this
87
state.
counties.
Unbelievable to me, because it is a very large state. People don't appreciate that,
Right.
but 87 counties.
87 counties? Yeah, and I think there's over 400 cities, but there's only about 350 police chiefs. Not every city has a police department.
Right.
So you have to, it's easier for the legislature just to make law and say the sheriff shall. So I have a lot of shalls behind my name. Yeah.
And you've done a lot of innovation.
Thank you.
Now, one of the things that I've been reading about of late is the fact that the Dakota County Sheriff's Office is using drones. So tell us about that.
Well, you're right. We've been through a very painstaking process to get the approval from the FAA. We just got that about a week or two ago. So now we've communicated to the police chiefs that we have this availability. The reasons we did it are manifold, but one of the first two are the fact we have a refinery in our county, and number two is we have a nuclear power plant just adjacent to the county. So rather than send people into those two should something bad happen. I'd prefer to send a drone in to take a look.
To see what's going on
see what's
before
going on, absolutely.
we see if we have to send in people.
Yeah, rather than put
whatever.
a human being in harm's way, we prefer to get intelligence or information from the drone before we'd have to send people in. We have a big park system. You know, the Dakota County parks have a huge footprint in
Right.
Dakota County. And unfortunately, people get lost. You know, adults, children. So we're called there pretty much every summer to look for lost people. This would help us in that. Car crashes.
There are people that say that I've been lost for years, but I think it's in a different vein.
Well, we can send a drone up for you too if we have to. Yeah. And then storms, you know, big floods or tornadoes. What you need to do is an assessment. And a drone would be a real easy tool to use rather than a helicopter to go up and take pictures of damage to get that information to FEMA so we can get help on the way.
And can you see what they're taking pictures of live?
Yes, you can.
So
They have
if somebody's
camera.
lost in one of the parks, for instance,
And it does have a FLIR or a heat signature. So if it's in the cool or cold weather and a human being is lost in a park, you'd see that heat signature, the difference between the 98.6 and the ground.
well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So forward-looking infrared, it's the same technology that helicopters use.
Talking about, you know, tomorrow's innovations, here we are. I mean,
Absolutely.
a decade ago, would we have thought about using drones in law enforcement?
Yeah. Who'd have thunk? Who'd have thunk? Yeah.
Now, you also have a canine unit, though, right?
We do. We have a canine. We have just one right now. We'll probably put a second on soon. We've been short on one.
Well,
We
didn't one of
promoted
your
a guy.
dogs die or retire?
He retired. Yeah, his handler got promoted to sergeant, Sergeant Matt Schuster, and he's a really good sergeant. So we're fortunate to have him. But his dog got retired, and so we'll put on another one when the time is right.
And so they're also sniffing on the ground and or trained to go after people if they have to.
Correct. And I was a canine handler when I was in the St. Paul Police Department, so I have some understanding of it. Canine, they just have very good noses, and they're able to. It's kind of a force multiplier. If you have a large school, for example, Egan High School, and they get an alarm and we find an open door, it's much more efficient to have a dog go in and search than it is to have 12 police officers, for example.
And hard for a drone to get into the hallway. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Not much you can do with a drone
Right.
in a big school, right?
So now you also have management and control of the Dakota County Jail,
Yes, we do.
which has how many prisoners at any given point?
Well, every morning I get a report to tell me how many people are in our jail. So today it was 275, and so we have only 263 beds. So today we're boarding out a few folks, and we send them up to the women. We send to Ramsey County, and the reason we do that, it's a business reason. It's basically more efficient because we only have 20 to 30 women every day. Most of our housing units are in the 50s, so we'd only have half full. So we fill our jail with men, and then if we have women, we'll send them up to the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office for their care and feeding. It's...
And you have a cross-section, though. You might have people who are short-termers
We do?
and people who are serving longer sentences, right?
Yeah, the longest you can stay in a county jail is up to a year. And so some people will get sentenced by the judges to time in the county jail. But we have both pre-trial and post-trial. We're convicted folks. So it's a detention facility. Therefore, you have to treat them all the same, like they're all pre-trial. So we do our best to do that. Most are innocent until proven guilty. Some just can't make bail, so they're in our jail system because of their own socioeconomic status, which is kind of too bad. But we do our best to treat them well while they're there. I talk at Rotaries and other places that, how do you want these people coming out? Better criminals or with some hope for the future? We prefer hope for the future, that they understand their limitations and what they're doing to fix them.
And it seems to make sense from a societal standpoint also.
I would agree.
Recidivism only means they go back again and again and again. And there are some people who psychologically fall into that. But most people would like to live a decent life and maybe jail can help them see the way, especially if maybe jail has a school.
Yeah, we offer GED programs, we offer etiquette, how to dress for success, how to write a resume. We do all sorts of, self-help and trying to get them better, so they're better prepared next time they go out into the world and apply for a job.
I know one of the things Sharon mentioned when she was taking your program is the fact that they spent an evening talking to someone who was in the jail, had been sentenced, and how that person was trying to better his life.
Right. We have the inmate panel. So members of the Citizens Academy, the Sheriff's Office Citizens Academy, get to ask questions of these inmates in front of them, and how did this happen? How did you fall into this, this lifestyle or whatever? And that's been one of the most favorite of all the graduates of our Citizens Academies is the inmate panel. So again, we got to get you in there so you can experience it.
We'll apply now.
Sounds good.
In addition to that, we read every day about ICE, the immigration people,
Yes.
and rounding up sometimes people who have been here for 10, 20 years and haven't been in trouble other than maybe they came in illegally,
Right.
if that's their only crime. ICE has been trying to rely on law enforcement to accompany them, to pick people up, to do things like that. And I know a lot of law enforcement is resisting that effort. How does that sit in Dakota County?
Well, I'm not going to speak for each chief, but in the sheriff, I will not participate in roundup operations. I don't do that. I don't think it's a good use of my resources. However, if during the course of patrol work or we run across a criminal who also happens to be an illegal immigrant, they're treated just like anyone else that's got a warrant for their arrest or they've committed a crime. They're processed into the jail. If ICE finds out that they're an illegal immigrant and they're in the jail, they can be waiting for them as they leave, and they can detain them. I will not hold an illegal immigrant in my jail without a court order. The rules apply just like they would to any citizen, just in case if you were arrested or my son was arrested.
If I was arrested, I'd never get out.
Yeah. So we don't do anything different in Dakota County. There's no sanctuary for bad people. There's no sanctuary for people that commit crimes. I think sanctuary cities might be a little bit of a misnomer. I know that if someone burglarizes someplace or gets arrested for something, it doesn't matter if they're an illegal. They're going to be held accountable to the state charges.
Yeah, sanctuary cities is a whole different ball game that we're just getting used to.
Right.
And I think it means pretty much the same as what you're doing. We will let these people stay in the community,
Yep.
and we're not going to advertise to have them picked up. And we've read some really interesting stories about people who have been here 20 years and raised a family
Right.
and opened a business and are very popular in their communities, and then ICE comes along and picks them up.
Right.
And it gets a community reaction against
Correct.
the immigration people.
Yeah, it's a complicated issue. I'll give them that, but it's a federal law, and they got to figure it out, and they haven't done a very good job giving us direction.
We are all immigrants. I don't know how long,
Same with me.
other than the Native Americans, but as my grandparents on both sides
Yep.
came over here, so my parents were born in this country, but I'm sure yours is the same story.
It is. Leslie is a Scottish name, but I found out there's a castle in Ireland with the Leslie name in it, so I'll probably I'll have some corned beef and cabbage tonight, and maybe even a glass of beer.
Well,
Look at you.
here's
I don't have
Miller
any-
with his green shirt
have any
on,
green
and
on it.
yes, it is St. Patty's Day today. That probably means more business for you tonight.
As a matter of fact, so last summer, some of the towns in cities in Dakota County have, let's be honest, not that many officers out in the middle of the night, maybe two. So if one of them is taking someone to jail, that leaves one behind. And that's just not a good strategy sometimes for officer safety. So last summer, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, we'd put out a van, a transport van, for all the cities in Dakota County. So they was staffed with volunteers, deputy police reserves, and licensed deputy reserves, I should say. And they would be out on Fridays and Saturday nights doing all the transports. We thought, since tonight's a busy night, we'll do it again tonight. So we'll have transport vans out there tonight to take those fresh arrests to the jail, so those cities don't have to take that long run from Burnsville and Lakeville all the way to Hastings.
Well, I'll be dining at Jensen's tonight, so if the van is there when we leave.
Yeah, we're not giving rides home though. Yeah, only
it's
rides to Hastings. Yeah,
and that's where the jail is located.
that's right. The jail is located in Hastings, correct.
So the maximum number of people you can hold in the jail is what you have at the moment?
263, correct. Yeah, my numbers look higher because we board some out, but it's 263. And it's a busy place. We got to feed them. We got to give them health care. We have to give them their medications. There's a lot of law that governs how we treat people detained in jails. My predecessor, Dave Bellows, was very adamant about how we're going to keep our costs low, and I've continued that tradition. We pay an average meal in the jail. Do you want to take a guess? What it costs the taxpayers?
$1.40.
You're pretty close. It's $1.20. And as Dave and we used to say, and if you don't like it, don't come back. So that's our motto.
Well, that's good.
I agree.
We hope they don't come back.
We hope they don't come back.
Yeah.
It's a business. We don't want to be repeat business.
And we were talking before we went on air about the fact that in Minnesota, sheriffs have jurisdiction, certainly statewide. Mm-hmm. And even though it's Dakota County Sheriff, you also will send some of your patrols if you have extra people available at the time. And we just read about something where 2 sheriff's deputies arrested somebody in St. Paul, I think, with a stolen car or something.
Correct. Yeah, Wednesday night we had a couple extra deputies working just due to some training that wasn't going to happen. And so they, West St. Paul and South St. Paul in particular, have large call loads, and they were maybe short that night, so we sent 2 deputies up there, and they got a stolen car. The driver bailed and was running, and so they caught those guys, and it was a good night.
Extra bonus.
That's right. Yeah. So we help. We back up other law enforcement agencies as need be. I have a member of the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. I have a deputy on there, and he was the one who caught the guy wanted in South St. Paul for impregnating the 11-year-old. We got him in Minneapolis just earlier this week, so we're very proud of that too. So fugitives beware, we'll find you.
Well, that's a good thing to know, and it's a good thing for you in terms of a credit to your office.
Yep. Well, and the commissioners helped fund it. I made it an agenda item for my 2016 budget, and they agreed and funded it. So it was a good move on their part, a good move on my part.
Now, if somebody wants to become a Dakota County deputy sheriff, what are the requirements educationally and otherwise?
Well, just like all police officers in the state of Minnesota, you'd have to be post-certified and licensable. Once you have that in your back pocket, then you can begin to test. You can test in all the police departments across Dakota County. We need good people. I have one opening right now. We have one retired. Well, she's resigning because she's going to be a U.S. Air Marshal, so she's leaving for a more glamorous role.
That's
apparently,
glamorous,
yeah. If you like hanging out in airports and flying in planes, but that's my own opinion.
A grandson who just qualified and is now a beginner at the TSA.
Oh my gosh!
So
okay,
down in North Carolina.
So then we put you through a test. You'll have an entry-level test, and we have a physical fitness test. We have a psychological exam you must pass. Then the big one is the background. That's about 40 pages long, handwritten. Complete that, and then we assign it to a background investigator, and that's where it's painstakingly gone through and verified. We talk to former employers, ex-wives, people that you recommend.
I'd be dead there.
Yeah, we know we have good people if the ex-wife says they're good candidates. So we take a look at their finances, if they've ever been arrested before, and those kind of things. We're a lot of scrutiny in the background. That's where we find a lot of things. We give them a character test to see where they line up in terms of the character traits we're looking for. We're looking for honest people. I just interviewed 6 people last week to be supervisors, 3 in the jail and 3 in the license side. And I was so impressed with the quality of people. We ask, who do you aspire to be like in your life? And
all 6 said you.
No. But quite a few said their fathers or their grandfathers, the men at least. We did interview one woman, but one or two of them got a little tear in their eye, and they were emotional about it and the significance of their father or their grandfather had on their being raised and how they try to be like them. And in this day and age where there's so much criticism of law enforcement, I was so proud of the fact that these people have such character and they'll do the right thing for us and for you as a citizen.
And we don't want a hothead in a sheriff's office or in a police department.
Absolutely
We want
not.
somebody who can handle stress. And we've seen throughout the country in the last year in particular some really, really frightening situations.
You're right.
And of officers who couldn't handle stress. So
I agree.
it's good that you have.
Thank you, Alan. Yep, I agree. And we recruit, hire, and train from the human race. So they're all organic beings that come in with a set of skills, and we hope that they can move forward and continue to be responsible. Sometimes
Ethnically divergent also.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've hired people of color, and we're always looking for more. We probably can't ever be.
Some of your
close
graduates
enough.
have gone on, like Blair
They
Anderson,
They
who's
have.
now up in St.
Absolutely.
Cloud,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Blair's a chief.
doing a terrific job up
He is
there.
doing a great job.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him lately. I'll have to bump into him soon, give him a call. I think his birthday's coming up.
Is that right?
Yeah, I have it in my calendar. Yeah,
It's, well, say happy birthday for
yeah
us,
I
too.
will. I
It's,
will. Definitely.
yeah. Now, the Leslie family was asleep in their home in January,
Yes, we
and a
were.
bullet went through,
Right.
what, the wall, a window, what?
Through my daughter's window, actually. So my daughter had to go into basketball practice. She got up about 8:30. She said, "Dad, did you hear that window break last night?" I said, "No." And she says, "Well, I think somebody threw a rock at my window." So I took the dog, I went outside and I looked, and about 6 feet 4 inches up, there was a hole in her window. It was about the size of a silver dollar. And then it was through this inner window, and then through her screen, and then through the shade. So I was like, wow, it does look like someone threw a rock. So I went inside the home, and in her bedroom, on her floor, a bullet, a spent casing. And that was startled me, the
Yeah.
sheriff. Yeah. So immediately I thought someone was targeting my family. So I called in the sheriff's office, the Mendota Heights Police Department where I reside, and then the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension brought their crime scene team and a couple of investigators out. And they painstakingly went across the neighborhood trying to hear what happened, and no one in my neighborhood, within the 2-block area around my neighborhood, heard anything. But 3 blocks away, 4 houses heard gunshots in the middle of the night, 4 in the morning, right when my daughter woke up. So the crime scene team then did an analysis of what happened with the bullet, and they showed that the bullet came in at such a high angle that it was probably shot up in the air, the bullet, and it just coincidentally hit my home. Could have hit the plumber next door or the IT software guy or whatever, but it was a coincidental thing. Thank God they convinced me of it, but it rattled my world a
Yeah,
little bit.
you don't want to think that your home is under scrutiny.
Exactly.
And of course, people don't necessarily know where you live, and you don't advertise it either.
No, I
but
don't. Yeah.
it's still a scary
It was.
coincidental.
Oh, my daughter was pretty shook up. And,
Yeah.
she was in there when they did the analysis, and so she felt confident that it wasn't intentional towards her or me, and so we got the window repaired, and we're all better.
Good.
Yeah.
I see from what I read that cheap heroin has become a big problem. And
That's correct.
let's talk to that.
Yeah, so what we're seeing and hearing is that Minneapolis-St. Paul area is starting to become a source city, so that it's a place where a distribution network comes to get dope and then distributes from there. It's kind of scary to think that way, but in talking to the DEA about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, their opinion was there's so much dope coming into Minneapolis-St. Paul area, it's too much for the population. It's way too much to satisfy the appetite of the people that are buying it, and so there's something going on. And I heard it again today. So what we've done, and under Sheriff Stanek's leadership, actually, is the 5 counties of the metro are now going to be a high-intensity drug trafficking area. So we'll actually be assigned federal folks from the DEA, and then we will have an analyst in each county that will try to tie together the conspiracies that are going on with drug trafficking organizations that bring the dope into the metro area. And so yes, it is flooded right now with meth and heroin. We're seeing an uptick in those cases. Jim Backstrom's office just came out with their crime report. Drug cases are up. My jail population's up a little bit as well. A while back, I went into the jail because we had a big population of women. We normally have between 20 and 30, and I mentioned that earlier. One day we had 52. And I walked in and I asked the female correctional deputy who manages the women, I said, what's going on? Why do we have 52? She said 2 words, meth and heroin. Those are the 2 words that drive what's going on with our women. They've been using, and they're coming in.
And as these drugs become cheaper, it's easier for people to use them. And
Absolutely.
It's just amazing how
It's part of a marketing strategy.
how we haven't learned over the years.
They flood the market with cheap heroin, get the people addicted, and then they want more. It's cruel. It really is cruel.
It is cruel. It is cruel. Well, gun permits are also up.
They are.
Probably, in the last...
I'd say 20%. Yeah. 20%.
Since people got scared that Obama was going to take away their guns, which he didn't do. If anything, he made...
Well, he technically he can't.
Right.
This is a states' right issue, and our law is the law of Minnesota, and that the presidents that come and go can say whatever they want, but it's really a choice of the Minnesota legislature to do what they do. And I think the law, despite all the anxiety of it back in 2003 when it was passed, I think it's working pretty well. I sure don't want to see us go to lessen the standards that we currently have. I think a background investigation is needed. It's just like when you drive your...
It's always good to hear that from a law enforcement official.
You got to get a license to cut hair. You got to get a license to drive a car. I think you should have a permit to have a handgun.
And, and it's not as though Big Brother's going to come around and take it away from you.
I've met people, all they do it because they want to exercise their Second Amendment right.
And we're out of time.
Oh my gosh, that
Sheriff
fast.
Tim Leslie, Dakota County.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much.
It was awesome.
Thank you.